Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat?
Earlier this week, we talked about a piece up at ESPN.com from ESPN betting analyst Tyler Fulghum, where he made 3 bets for all 32 NFL teams. And as he notes in his tweet, yes, he hates your team. And if you're a Saints fan, you may actually believe it. He may not hate the Saints, but he certainly doesn't like this version of the Saints, if this is any indication. But excited to welcome Tyler Fulghum onto the show. He's on Twitter at Tyler_Fulghum if you want to give him a follow. Hey, Tyler, thanks for the time, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Well, you and I are one and the same. We are kindred spirits. We are aligned. You note that Dennis Allen is your favorite head coach to fade, and you like the Saints under 7.5. But I mean, I'm right there with you, man. Tyler, I'm struggling to find good things to say about this team. So I'm not just having you on for validation. I just think it's an interesting conversation. What is it from an outside looking in perspective don't you like about Dennis Allen and this team this year?
Well, first and foremost, Dennis Allen's just been a profitable coach to bet against in his career. He has a 27-42-1 ATS record. He's covered 39% of his games. So just betting against him has been very good for your pocketbook. Now, if you bet on him, you're in the poorhouse. So that, to me, ATS record isn't everything, but it tells you how coaches, teams, players do relative to market expectation, and consistently Allen is worse than he is expected to be. So that tells me he's not a very good coach. You look at the Bill Belichick's of the world, the Sean McVays. We know they're great coaches because they've won Super Bowls, but they also cover games because they beat what the market expects them to do. Allen's the opposite, so I'm never, ever going to be betting on an Allen-led team.
Is there anything specifically with this Saints team, though, that maybe it's outside of just obviously, look, I mean, when you're talking about sub 40%, obviously go the other way, right? So what is it about this team specifically?
Well, I think there's some promising young pieces, if you will, on this team. I love Chris Olave. As a matter of fact, one bet I want to make on the Saints is Olave to go over his receiving yardage prop because I think he's that good. I think the Saints are going to be playing in trail mode a lot. He's going to get opportunity, and there's not much target competition on that Saints team. And I trust him as long as he's healthy to be an efficient and effective baller on the perimeter. But Derek Carr is what he is at this point in his career, and he may not have the most formidable offensive line in front of him. The Ryan Ramczyk injury is a big issue. I know that Saints fans are probably excited about Telly Swaga, but we'll see how he does as a rookie. I know Trevor Penning hasn't lived up to his 2022 first-round selection. So my concern is that the offensive line doesn't give Carr the time he needs, because Carr is the guy who needs time. Otherwise, he just throws the ball out of bounds or checks it down to Alvin Kamara for 5 yards. So the offense, I don't know if it's going to be very good or explosive outside of Chris Olave.
Do you have any I don't know if you've looked any deeper into the Saints receiving core after Chris Olave, but is there anything else there that you do like at receiver?
Rashid Shaheed is a stud. Now, will he have enough time? Will Derek Carr have enough time, I should say, to access Shaheed where he wins, which is deep down the field? But Shaheed's proven to be one of the best return men in the game since he's been in the National Football League, and he's been effective when he's given opportunities as a wide receiver, and we expect that to increase the usage of the opportunity this year with no Michael Thomas to contend with. So I really like him. I wish Juwan Johnson was healthy for the start of the season because I think he's a good tight end as well. But, yeah, there's again, pieces I like. It's just I don't know if the sum of those parts add up to a winner here.
Tyler Fulghum is with us, ESPN Bet analyst. Get him on Twitter at Tyler_Fulghum, Fulghum. You also mentioned that you would fade the Saints week 1 against Carolina. You would take Carolina in the points in the Dome. But the thing that actually popped more to me was that you noted you wouldn't be surprised if the Saints finished behind Carolina in the division. Is that more of a fade on the Saints or more of Carolina improving here in year 2 with Bryce Young?
Sorry, it's a cop-out, but I think it's just a combination of both. I do think, again, the Saints don't live up to expectations. So we're talking 5, 6, 7 wins. That's where I see them coming in at. I do think the Panthers, in year 1 under Dave Canales, make a jump that few people expect. I don't think they're going to do what the Texans did last year. Okay, surprising everyone. But I do think they can get to 6-7 wins year one Dave Canales. Look what he did for Geno Smith. Look what he did for Baker Mayfield. I don't think Bryce Young is a lost cause yet after just one season. There needs to be some improved play on the offensive line. They've done enough, I think, at the wide receiver position. Deontay Johnson's one of the most QB-friendly wide receivers there are in the league. So I think it is a combo of both, but I want to be ahead of market on the Panthers because no one is going to be betting on the Panthers to be a good team or exceed expectations this year after what they saw in 2023.
What about Atlanta? You noted that you would take Tampa under 7.5. So Atlanta is your division winner?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I love Atlanta. I'm a Rams fan, so, take this with a grain of salt, if you will. And by the way, I have a story to tell about being a Rams fan. I think you know where that's going, 2018. But, yeah, I think Zach Robinson and Raheem Morris are going to be exactly what, along with Kirk Cousins, of course, what Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and Bijan Robinson need. I think that offense could be one of the most potent in the league if Cousins stays upright. We know Atlanta has a good offensive line in front of him. And I just don't see much competition in the division. I think 10 wins is kind of the floor for Atlanta if they stay healthy. And I even floated on ESPN Bet Live this week that they could be a sneaky long shot at 16-1 to have the most wins of any team in the NFL because the NFC South is, in my opinion, a weak division. They play the NFC East where you get the Commanders and the Giants, and a Cowboys team I think is not that good. And then you get the AFC West as well, where everyone outside of Kansas City is probably going to be a 500 or worse team. So I'm not saying that is what is going to happen, but I have high expectations for the Falcons this year.
What's the price at 16-1?
Yeah, that's Atlanta to have the most wins in the NFL at 16-1. That means for every dollar you wager, you get $16 back for if you win. So if you wager $100 on the Falcons to have the best record in the NFL, and they end up pulling that off, you get $1,600 back in your bank account.
Tyler Fulghum is our guest. Anything else that when you were running through all 32 teams, did you get stumped? What was a challenging decision that you had to make?
The Chicago Bears were a bit challenging at 8.5. It's juiced at ESPN Bet minus 155 to the over. I think there's a lot of expectation for Caleb Williams in that receiving group year one. And I think they're going to be better. I just don't know if it's necessarily going to translate year one to the field. They were a 7-win team last year, so even if they improve to 8 wins, that's still under 8.5. I'm kind of leaning that way. Detroit is a team that I think going from the hunter to the hunted could step back a little bit, but man, their team looks really good on paper. Those were a couple that stumped me. I think the AFC East is hard to decipher. There's 3 teams that have better than a 50% chance, according to ESPN FBI, to make it to the playoffs. That's, of course, Buffalo, Miami, and the Jets, assuming Aaron Rodgers is healthy. I think the Jets can win that division if Rodgers is healthy. I still think he's a stud at age 40, even come off the injury. But Miami, that offense can't be dismissed. Of course, Josh Allen is the best quarterback in that division and one of the top 3 in the NFL. So that's a hard one to handicap because you have Buffalo at 10.5, Miami and the Jets at 9.5. Can all 3 of them go over? Maybe, but probably not.
2 more things. I want to ask you about the LSU quarterbacks, Burrow with the Bengals and Jaden Daniels with the Commanders. I noticed you like Burrow over his passing yard total at 4,025.5. That's at minus 115. That looks like that's pretty good value as well there. What thoughts on Burrow and Jaden?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, Joe Burrow and the Bengals were a team I faded last year. I predicted they would finish last in the AFC North and miss the playoffs, and a lot of Bengals fans were in my mentions giving me heat about that. But my handicap was that the cumulative effect of Burrow not being healthy once again in the offseason leading into training camp and all of the extra football that this team had played over the past couple of years, going to a Super Bowl, going to AFC title games, and then the brain drain from and the talent drain from their roster was going to catch up with them. Now, I didn't correctly predict that Joe Burrow would get hurt, and of course that helped me in having my prediction come true, but I just thought it would catch up to them. So now I'm back on the Burrow and Bengals train. I think they had their bad luck season last year, and they'll get back to what we would expect of them this year, and that means Burrow, throwing for a lot of yards with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And then Jaden Daniels, I think Washington's going to be a team that is kind of fun to watch on Red Zone. And what I mean by that is I think Daniels obviously very exciting he's going to run. He's going to access Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson like, the previous quarterback, Sam Howell, and others couldn't. But I don't think Dan Quinn's defense is going to be very good this year. I think it's going to take a while for them to rebuild that side of the ball. And if that's the case, you could see a lot of high-scoring games with the Commanders involved where maybe they don't win a lot of them, but at least they're fun to watch.
All right, what's your Rams story? Do I actually want to ask it because I was in the Dome for the Nola no call, and it remains maybe the most my two most devastating moments as a sports fan both happened in the Dome, the Nola no call and then the 2011 National Championship with January 9th, a day that'll live in infamy in these parts. Okay, what's your story? And if you piss me off, then I'm just probably going to hang up on you and not be polite.
That's fine because I pissed off a lot of people in New Orleans that day. I took my then 14, 15-year-old nephew down to the NFC Championship game because we're from St. Louis, and I'm a Rams fan that's carried over from their time being in St. Louis and greatest show on turf. And he became a Drew Brees fan, and I am a big Drew Brees fan. He actually was a camp counselor for me when I was 14 years old at a Purdue golf camp, which is another side story. But Drew's a great dude. My nephew, loved Drew Brees. So he's a Saints fan. Lo and behold, I promised him if the Saints and the Rams meet in the NFC title game, I will personally buy us tickets and fly you down there. And that came to fruition. So I'm rocking my Todd Gurley and Aaron Donald jersey, and I'm sitting up in the top of the Superdome there, and I am getting heckled to death by all the Saints fans there. Then, of course, when the no call happens with Roby Coleman, and the Rams end up winning that game, the vitriol from Saints fans that is, of course, meant for the referees turns on me because I'm wearing those Rams colors. So I almost got killed trying to escort my downtrodden 14-year-old nephew out of the Superdome there, and thankfully we made it out alive. But I do love the city of New Orleans. Great food, great fun, great party. They just did not like me that day as a Ram fan.
Hey, man, I don't know that there was ever – literally ever anything that created that type of an emotional, visceral reaction. I mean, understandably, not that I'm saying it was okay to be rude to your young nephew. I just mean like with the nature of the call and everything. Oh, no, boy.
They were on my nephew's side. My nephew was wearing the Breeze.
Oh, that's
jersey,
right.
So
That's
even
right.
he was threatening to kill me. But I was about to ask for police intervention a few times with some fans who were threatening to take my head off. But
I don't know if it would have helped.
No, I don't know if it would have helped out. They might have been in on the turn the other cheek if they were Saints fans as well. But if it makes anyone in New Orleans feel better, I did go to Super Bowl 36 in New Orleans and watch my Rams lose on the Adam Vinatieri kick, which started, unfortunately, the Patriots dynasty. So I do have at least one memory from the Superdome that makes me cry in retrospect.
That was the 9/11 season, man. What a game that was.
Mm-hmm. It was a great game.
Hey, Tyler Fulghum, ESPN Bet. Catch him on ESPN Bet Live. He's on Twitter at Tyler_Fulghum, Fulghum, if you want to give him a follow. Hey, man, we appreciate it. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.